Well, hello, Kanako. Congratulations. Good to see you again. UFC fighter now. I mean, awesome. Just awesome to see. And I mean, in the quarantine, how are you doing in the quarantine, first of all? Because what, you're a week through now? Or, you're getting close to done, right? How you been keeping busy?
Thank you. Good to see you too ですね。帰ってきて今まで
So first of all, I've got 4 more days to go.
自分でという
And
か
but during the quarantine, I've mostly been I've watched a lot of my fight.
試合の反省
A lot of
と
my
か
many times I've seen my fight many times and went over it with my coach to see what we can do better, what we did wrong,
で
and
自分で走ったりとか
and
トレーニン
mostly
グしたり
I've
とか
just kind of been training on my
サ
own,
ンドバッグ叩いたりとかしてました。
hitting the heavy bag and do what I can. I've been staying busy.
金土日月4日間バンテージの時のやつですか？なんか言ってます？
Yeah, how did you like my post with my facial expressions during the hand wraps?
Oh, it's perfect. I mean, that was totally you. I was happy to see still having fun back there. That was great.
いろいろないです。
I do all right. I'm very nervous, but I do okay in front of cameras.
Yeah, and I mean, you surprised me there with the English during the post-fight, interview that you were doing. I mean, you hid it from me last time. How long you been working on your English?
いや、そこまでじゃないです。
I can understand a lot of things that are said to me in English, but I really can't put them into words when I try to speak. I'm still having trouble there. And whenever there's a translator that does a good job, I would definitely let them do the job.
Yeah, of course. That's why we have Shingo here. So that's what he's here for. So, but it was cool to see. Very cool to see that you were learning and understanding. I kind of have that. I know what you mean because I feel that way a little bit about Spanish for me. So, yeah, totally understand where you're coming from there. But of course, Kanako, as we mentioned, the UFC win and everything, being in the UFC now, I got to know, like, what was the whole experience like? Just a setting change for you, change of scenery going to the UFC from RIZIN and Invicta and everything. What was it like?
アメリカに事前に行って
So Drake,
合宿してて
I was out in the States. I set up fight camp in the States, right? 4 weeks prior to the fight. But I was hearing that the United States has much more cases of the COVID cases. And my number one concern was that what if I caught the virus before my fight? If that happened, I wouldn't be able to fight. So that was my number one concern. And after I went to Vegas, I was able to meet up with my coach, and then they had a translator for me. So everything was good, and I have no concerns.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the scare of the virus and everything, and when we caught up before the fight, you were supposed to fight somebody else. You had a different opponent, and I don't know if that's exactly why why Souza pulled out, if it was an injury or whatever. But I mean, just in terms of an opponent change up, did that affect you much mentally, or the preparation, of course, different for a different opponent?
3週間くらい前でしたよね、あれ。
So I think it was 3 to 4 weeks prior the fight that my opponent changed. And I think it's right after I arrived in the US. And once it was confirmed, I saw all of her fights that I could. And she was a very well-rounded veteran who's fought almost everybody in the top division, like the top contenders. So stylistically, like, my game plan didn't change too much, but the fact that I was going against a more experienced fighter who's been there with the best, it got me very nervous.
ベテランの選手とやるっていうことで緊張してました。
I mean, you wouldn't know it by your performance. You went out there and looked great. I thought really showed off some improvements that you made and everything. So, I mean, just in terms of getting that win and how you did, I mean, were you happy with it? I feel like hard not to be. You look great out there, won every round, got takedowns whenever you wanted, essentially. So, I mean, just how do you feel about the performance overall? Looking back on it, as you've had plenty of time to pick it apart, I'm sure, while you're in quarantine.
まあ、どうだろうな。なんか、
Yeah, I wanted to
日本
I wanted to capitalize on the opportunities that I had.
もうちょっと決める
I
ところ
think
は
that
決め
there were
ると
some
か、
places where I could have finished the
う
fight,
ん
and
そういうふうにしたかったですね。
I look back and I know that I need to capitalize and be able to finish with in those given opportunities.
Yeah, of course, always some things that can take something from the fight and move on, even though it was a great win still. And I think that your striking looked very good in particular. A lot of people are talking about, oh wow, she's such a dominant wrestler, but anybody who knows you already knew about that. So seeing your striking look so sharp as it was, and hitting very hard and everything, was that something you wanted to show off? Your improvements in your striking in particular.
見せたいっていうよりも、
So it wasn't me really
日本で
wanting to showcase my striking skills, but
K1 のチャンピオン
since I've been
カナさん
sparring with
と
the K1 champion
練習させて
Kana from Silver
もらったこと
Silver
を
Wolf, I wanted
MMA
to
を混ぜて試合に出したいという気持ちがあり
to
ました。
see how I can utilize her striking in MMA. So it was me more trying to figure things out in an actual fight than me trying to showcase my striking skills. I was trying to put things together during that fight.
Okay, well, that's very interesting to hear that. I mean, just because from watching it, I feel like we were kind of finally getting that stage in your career. I mean, at least in this fight, where you can kind of see how your wrestling helps open up your striking, so that they're going to be afraid of your takedown, so that it allows you to hit them more because that's what they're thinking about. Did you feel that way in this fight?
まだなんかその
It's not more so about my opponent. I think it's just I tend to focus on myself. I know that there's some things, a lot of things that I can make better during the fight. And for me, it's about the footwork and stance. I know during the fight, I was moving a little too much and I couldn't get the right grip with my feet to throw a powerful shot, which I could have. So it's all about, I know that I can utilize the striking better in a fight, and I just have to continue to, fight and figure things out during the fight. But it's not about my opponent, it's more about how I can utilize it.
Well said. And I mean, we saw how much power that you can put into your punches with the ground and pound shots too. Those were some good ones. I think maybe the best that we've seen from you too. But earlier you mentioned also like the opportunities to find the finish or the submission, whatever it may be. I mean, in that third round, you were working for a north-south choke that was looking like it was getting pretty tight there for a little bit. But how close was it really? Was it just kind of positional, or did you think you might pull that off there for a minute?
パウンドは
About my ground and pound. In my last fight against Emily, I almost got submitted while throwing those ground and pounds. So there was a lot to learn from the Emily fight in terms of throwing punches from top position. So I think I was able to learn from that mistake, learn from the Emily fight, and I think that went well in my last fight. But in terms of the choke, I think I transitioned from a Darce choke to a north south. But the Darce was in there pretty tight, and all I had to do was secure her legs, which I couldn't do. So I think because I couldn't secure her legs, she was able to slip out of it. And then as she was trying to slip out, I transitioned to the north-south. And at the beginning, that was pretty tight too. I felt it was very tight, but she was able to get away. So props to her. She had great defense, and I just couldn't finish.
Yeah, I mean, they were both good positions, and Randa's very a tough, durable opponent, of course, and able to work her way out of those positions as we've seen in the past with all the experienced opponents she's fought. But yeah, that's a great point about the Dakota fight and moving forward and the difference in the shots that you were landing, which a big improvement for sure. Good to see from just one fight to the next. So that was very awesome, of course, and as the year's coming to a close here and everything, I mean, are you already thinking about when you want to get back in there, or is it just taking some time to chill, of course, with the holidays coming up and everything?
やっぱこの
There are definitely things, a lot of things to learn from my last fight. And right now, I want to continue to focus on the mistakes I've made and adjust those mistakes. And whatever was good, I would like to continue to improve them. So, once I'm able to go back to practice, I would like to work on that, continue to improve and make myself a better fighter, and fight. But in a perfect world, I think March would be best, but I'm not sure if that will happen.
Yeah, just have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely a good time period there to improve and get ready for whatever is next, whenever is next. So yeah, and this is something that I wanted to bring up last time that we talked, but I totally forgot about it. But for RIZIN 10, you were supposed to face Weili Zhang, the current champion now in your division. Everything fight didn't happen. She had shoulder injury or whatever it was. So I mean, is it weird to think about now, and you see how she's gone on to become champion? You're in the UFC now. You guys were supposed to fight. Maybe you fight for the title at some point in the future. I'm sure that's something you want to make happen. But what's it been like seeing, how she's gone to where she is and then where you are now?
Originally, when I was supposed to fight her, when I was scheduled to fight her, I did a lot of studying. I watched her fights, and I knew that she was super tough. I knew that she was a very, very good and tough fighter. So after I found out that she was going to the UFC, I knew that she was going to do good. I knew that she was going to be a top ranker, and now she's a champion. So I would like to think that the same thing could be said to me. I've only won once in the UFC, but I would like to think the same that can be said to me. So I hope I'm right about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that you're not alone in that thought. A lot of people would also think that the the possibility is there, of course. And I mean, just you prepared for that fight, obviously. So I mean, how do you think it would have played out in hindsight? I mean, that's a kind of a tricky question, of course, as it didn't happen at all. But just how do you think it would have gone?
I think I would try to. I would jump in. I would close distance in a barrage of punches, and then I would clinch her and take the fight to the ground, and I would have probably laid and prayed on her and controlled the fight.
Gotta do what you gotta do, right? So maybe we'll get to find out the answer there someday. Hopefully, of course, that's the ultimate goal and everything. But also, I mean, that was back when you had red hair, Kanako. So I mean, is there any chance that you could bring the red hair back? Maybe since you beat Randa, take her hair color from her now.
Red hair causes a lot of issues, such as your white t-shirt turning red and pink. So there's a lot of headaches that come with that red hair. So I have no plans on doing it again.
Did it once, no more hair dye, right? So that's definitely got it out of the system, right? All right, Kanako, I will leave you with one last thing here. I noticed, when you were posting your pictures after the win and everything, showed off the mask, of course, your Kanako Murata mask. Very cool. Sucks that they didn't let you wear it, on the way to the cage. That would have been awesome, but still had it there and everything, had the pictures with it on afterward. And, you made your post and you had Shinsuke Nakamura was a part of your post and everything. So pro wrestling and everything. I'm curious, was that ever something you thought about doing instead of MMA? Because, a lot of those guys and girls, they have some wrestling backgrounds and, amateur wrestling, whatever it may be, and they transition over to that instead of actually fighting. Did you ever think about doing pro wrestling or, something you're a fan of?
Well,
So it's not that I want to be a pro wrestler, but I grew up in, as a child, I grew up in Ehime, which it's a countryside of Japan. And then I would always go whenever the pro wrestling show would come to my town. I would go with my grandfather. I would always go and watch pro wrestling. So I do enjoy watching pro wrestling. Doesn't mean that I want to do it, but I do enjoy watching it. And I haven't been watching too much pro wrestling lately, but I always do check out WWE's posts on social media.
Yeah, of course. Just had to ask about that because, thought it was something interesting, especially, with your background and everything. I think you'd make a great character, of course. It would be weird to see you as a bad guy, though. So I don't know about that, but thought it would be interesting to hear about. So, yeah, I think that that'll be all I got for you this time, Kanako. Big thank you for chatting again, especially after the win and in quarantine still. So, I mean, got some time for me. So I appreciate that. Arigato gozaimashita. And, um, just wish you the best and a happy holidays and New Year once it comes up and everything. And I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. But congratulations once again.
Thank you so much です。ドリュクさんに素敵なひげですねって入れといてください。
Mustache comments. I know. Growing its mustache November. So.
How long have you been growing that for to get that?
Oh, so it takes about, I guess it takes maybe a month and a half to be able to actually curl it now. But yeah, I haven't shaved since I think like March. I mean, I've trimmed every now and then, but yeah, for me to be able to actually curl it takes about maybe a month and a half.
髪の毛より伸びるの早いんじゃないですか?
That's faster than your hair.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. And I'm just letting it all do its thing right now. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, hey, you made it to the end. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you like this video and want to see more like it, give it a like and maybe subscribe if you haven't already. Until then, we'll see you next time.